Did you know that in 2025, over 75,000 Australians were denied entry or residency in countries that once welcomed them with open arms? Shocking, right? From student visas to skilled migration and even long-term residency applications, the door is now firmly shut for many. And what's more surprising, some of these countries are Australia's closest allies and top travel destinations. You might be thinking, why now? What changed? Is it politics, economy, or something else entirely? Well, it's not just one reason. Around the globe, shifting immigration policies, diplomatic tensions, and even public sentiment are redrawing the map for Australians. In this video, we'll take you through a countdown of 10 countries that have just banned or drastically limited Australian immigrants. And trust us, you won't believe who's at number 1. So buckle up, because what you're about to discover might completely change your view on global mobility in 2025. Number 10. Japan. Once known for its booming tourism and growing international workforce, Japan has made a surprising pivot in 2025, placing heavy restrictions on Australian immigrants. Just a few years ago, Australians were warmly welcomed, especially for work in English education, tech, and even rural revitalization programs. But recent changes have turned that welcome mat into a do not enter sign. So, what happened? Japan has been grappling with rising internal pressures, from an aging population to economic instability caused by fluctuating global markets. While these challenges might seem like an opportunity to attract skilled foreigners, the Japanese government has instead tightened its immigration policies across the board. A new policy, known as the Foreign Labour Rebalancing Act, specifically prioritizes applicants from select Asian countries, sidelining many Western nations, including Australia. Another surprising factor: political friction. In late 2024, diplomatic disagreements over defense arrangements and regional security alliances led to a cooling in Japan-Australia relations. While this isn't a full-blown fallout, it has directly impacted immigration policies. Australian applicants are now facing longer wait times, stricter documentation requirements, and drastically lower acceptance rates for work and residency permits. For Australians dreaming of cherry blossoms and high-speed trains, this shift is more than just paperwork. It's a closed door to opportunity. And with Japan setting the tone, it raises the question: which other countries are about to follow suit? Would you consider living in Japan under these new restrictions? Let us know in the comments, and keep watching, because the countries ahead on this list are even more shocking. Number 9. Canada. Once the dream destination for Australians seeking a friendly, English-speaking country to build a new life, Canada has quietly slammed its doors in 2025. Previously, thousands of Aussies used the Canada-Australia Working Holiday Visa and skilled migration programs to experience life in Canada. But now, that landscape has shifted dramatically. The catalyst: Canada's growing concerns over domestic job shortages and affordability. With a high influx of skilled workers in areas like tech, healthcare, and education, local Canadians are feeling squeezed. In response, the Canadian government unveiled the Economic Protection Act in early 2025. This policy introduced stricter income thresholds, more rigorous credential assessments, and prioritized applicants with Canadian experience over foreign applicants, even Australians. Add to that rising sentiment in public discourse, a narrative pushing back against international workers taking Canadian jobs. This has fueled a policy pivot away from international recruitment. News outlets report that while Canadians remain the priority, Australian applicants now face a startling 40% rejection rate on skilled visas, with entry caps shrinking by nearly half. For those hoping to travel to Canada on a working holiday or pursue permanent residence, this marks a drastic change. The Canadian border isn't closed entirely to Australians, but it's become a much rockier path. Delays in visa processing, tougher interview screenings, and more frequent background checks are now standard hurdles. Many who expected a sunny start in Canada are finding their plans derailed by red tape. Could the allure of maple leaves and friendly neighbourhoods still hold true? Or has Canada pulled the welcome mat out from under Aussies for good? Weigh in below. Would you still chase your Canadian dream knowing the barrier is so high? Hit that like button if you've ever considered moving to Canada, and stick around because number 8 on our list gets even more unexpected. Number 8. South Korea. For years, South Korea has been one of the most vibrant options for Australians seeking adventure, work, or study abroad. Home to dynamic cities, global tech innovation, and cultural treasures, it was easy to fall in love. And many Australians did. But in 2025, that welcome has shifted dramatically. South Korea's stunning economic surge in sectors like semiconductors, biotech, and artificial intelligence has created fierce competition for local jobs. To safeguard its workforce, the South Korean government introduced the Immigration Control and Workforce Protection Act early this year. The result? Rules that disproportionately affect Western applicants, especially Australians, who now find themselves up against stricter English testing, mandatory Korean language proficiency, and preference points hawkishly favouring graduates from South Korean universities or regional workers. Public opinion played its part too. National conversations around job security and fair hiring practices began framing foreign workers as potential threats to employment stability. This cultural shift pushed lawmakers to toughen immigration lanes that had previously been accessible to Australians, especially in professional and educational categories. As a consequence, Australian applicants are facing a significant decline in approvals for work visas and university admittance. Reports suggest a 30% drop in acceptance rates for Australian skilled worker applications and sharp spikes in visa denials within months. Those hopeful about joining Seoul's startup scene, teaching English in Busan, or immersing themselves in Korean culture are now facing a maze of additional paperwork, language tests, and even regional employment quotas. For Aussie dreamers seeking karaoke nights in Itaewon or mountain hikes in Seoraksan, the experience has become less seamless and much more uncertain. Are you still considering moving to South Korea despite the hurdles? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and get ready, because coming up at number 7 is a move that may surprise you even more. Number 7. India. In 2025, India, long an emerging powerhouse and a popular destination for work and study, made a surprising move against Australian immigrants. Historically, Aussies came for tech jobs in Bangalore, education partnerships, and vibrant cultural exchange. But now, that open door has begun to close. The turning point? A wave of economic reforms aimed at protecting local employment and reducing dependency on foreign talent. India rolled out the National Employment Prioritisation Directive earlier this year, which significantly adjusted its visa and immigration policies. The regulations now demand that companies exhaust national candidate pools before sponsoring foreign workers, and that includes Australians. Preference in tech, finance, and academia now leans heavily toward homegrown professionals. Tensions also stemmed from diplomatic friction following rare trade disagreements in late 2024. Some argued this cooled bilateral relations enough to influence migration choices, subtly but noticeably. As a result, Australian applicants for work and student visas are now subjected to lengthier processing times, heightened scrutiny of qualifications, and a 20-25% contraction in approved visa numbers. For Australians planning to dive into India's startup ecosystem, pursue higher education, or join multinational corporations, the change is palpable. The vibrant markets, cultural richness, and dynamic cities you dream of now come with one more obstacle: getting through the paperwork. Ask yourself, would you still risk going ahead with an Indian adventure under these tougher conditions? Let us know in the comments. And stay tuned for number 6, we're heading to a region where oil-rich ambition and policy shifts collide in the United Arab Emirates. Number 6. United Arab Emirates. For Aussies drawn to the rich skylines of Dubai or the cultural tapestry of Abu Dhabi, the UAE has long been a top pick for work, luxury experiences, and international lifestyles. But beginning in 2025, that golden allure is being dimmed, particularly for Australian immigrants. The UAE's rapid growth in finance, tourism, and technology has caused local governments to rethink their immigration strategy. While global talent remains high on the agenda, there's now a stronger emphasis on regional candidates and long-term residents. The UAE introduced a new citizenship and labour equity policy that gives priority to applicants from GCC, Gulf Cooperation Council, countries, and those with established local ties. Western nationals, especially Australians, are now seeing their residency renewals and visa applications scrutinised more heavily. There's also a financial angle. The UAE is standardising its labour sponsorship system, requiring higher corporate bonds and proof of employer liability for non-Arab applicants. This means Aussie workers, especially in finance, hospitality, and education sectors, are facing higher financial barriers and longer approval timelines. Residency renewals that once took weeks are now being stretched to months. Diplomatic rhythms play a role too. Though Australia and the UAE maintain friendly relations, subtle shifts in trade agreements and regional alignments have had ripple effects, notably in eligible work permit categories. Aussies are feeling the pinch through more frequent interview requests, compulsory proficiency exams, and occasional denials citing national workforce strategy. If you've been dreaming of a life beneath towering palms and sparkling skylines, these new rules may force a tougher takeoff. The UAE remains open, but with a steeper climb for Australians. More hoops, more delays, more costs. Are these new requirements a deal breaker? Drop a comment and tell us. Is the UAE still a golden opportunity or just a mirage? Number 5. Germany. Once hailed as a beacon for skilled migration, Germany has made headlines in 2025 by imposing strict new limits on Australian immigrants. Known for its robust economy and welcoming student and worker programs, this move caught many by surprise, especially Australians pursuing engineering, tech, or academic careers. The root cause? Germany is grappling with internal pressure to stabilise its labour market after a decade of rapid migration. In response, the government passed the Fair Access Employment Act, aimed at prioritising EU citizens and tightening external migration quotas. While this law doesn't name Australia directly, its impact has been loud and clear. The visa processing times for Aussies have doubled, and approval rates have fallen by nearly 35% since January. There's also a growing concern over integration and language adaptability. Australians are now expected to meet advanced German language requirements, even for fields that previously allowed English proficiency. Employers, universities, and immigration officers are now enforcing stricter cultural and language benchmarks, which is turning Germany from a land of opportunity into a land of bureaucratic walls. Even the once popular working holiday and freelance artist visas are now under tighter scrutiny. Australians are increasingly required to prove long-term financial stability, have direct German sponsorships, or demonstrate niche qualifications to be considered. For Aussies who once dreamed of sipping beer at Oktoberfest or working in Berlin's tech hubs, the path has become tangled and tense. Think Germany's new stance is justified or too extreme? We genuinely want to know what you think. We pour hours into crafting these deep dive videos just for you. So if you learned something new, smash that subscribe button. It's free, it's fast, and it means the world to us. And hey, drop a comment. We read every single one. Number 4, South Africa. In 2025, South Africa, a country brimming with rich culture, stunning landscapes, and growing economic opportunity, took a sharp turn in its immigration stance toward Australians. Traditionally open to skilled migrants and tourists alike, this shift came as a bolt from the blue for many Aussies dreaming of exploring Cape Town or Johannesburg. The catalyst for this change lies in South Africa's rising domestic unemployment and growing concerns over skilled worker displacement. To address these issues, the government introduced the National Workforce Protection Initiative, which mandates that employers actively recruit local candidates before tapping into the foreign labour pool. Though aimed at wider migration, in practice, this move has disproportionately affected Western applicants, Australians included, who are now often bypassed for local hires. Political dynamics have also played a part. Late 2024 saw escalating discussions in the South African Parliament around economic sovereignty and job security. Even without direct diplomatic fallout, that mood has rippled through visa policies, resulting in stricter criteria and a subtle yet effective cooling of foreign visa approvals. Now, Australians report longer processing times, more intense documentation checks, and visa refusal rates climbing by 15 to 20%. What's more, new mandatory cultural adaptation tests covering local language basics and job application protocols have taken hold. Applicants must demonstrate familiarity with South African workplace norms, adding an unexpected layer of complexity. For Australians who once imagined volunteering in Kruger National Park, launching businesses in Cape Town, or studying at top universities, these updates signal a tougher reality. The allure remains, but only if you can navigate the additional hurdles. What do you think? Are these protective measures fair, or do they unfairly penalise Australians? Let us know down below. And brace yourselves. Number 3 is on its way, and it may be the most unexpected twist yet. Number 3, New Zealand. Few would have predicted this. New Zealand, often dubbed Australia's little sister, has taken a surprising stance in 2025 that tightens the noose on Australian immigrants. Historically, Aussies enjoyed seamless travel, easy work rights, and simple residency pathways. But this year, that privileged standing received an abrupt downgrade. At the heart of this shift is New Zealand's Trans-Tasman Immigration Revamp, introduced mid-2025. While the program aimed to strengthen economic security and social cohesion, it effectively reclassified Australians as general skilled migrants rather than priority neighbours. This change altered visa application routes, added rigorous skill assessments, and introduced point-based quotas, reducing Aussie intake by a staggering 50% compared to previous years. Economically, the move reflects concerns about job saturation in key sectors like healthcare, construction, and agriculture. With New Zealand facing a labour surplus in certain regions, officials felt compelled to balance between local demand and migration. Even the tourist and student flows from Australia are being scrutinised more closely, with visa validity now capped at shorter periods and renewals requiring stricter justification. Politically, this decline in the special treatment is tied to growing Kiwi national sentiment. Local media discussions around preserving Kiwi identity and keeping opportunities at home have fueled tougher entry rules. While the change didn't stem from any specific diplomatic feud, the timing and tone signal a significant recalibration in trans-Tasman mobility. For Australians dreaming of lakeside life in Queenstown, studying in Wellington, or working in Auckland's booming tech scene, this reform marks a major pivot. What was once a breezy down-under commute is now a more calculated journey. So how do you feel about NZ tightening the Trans-Tasman corridor? Fair play to protect local talent, or too harsh for historical allies? Drop us your thoughts below, and hang tight, because number 2 is up next, and it gets even more intense. Number 2, China. In 2025, China, once a magnet for Australians drawn to its booming business hub, Shanghai's towering skyline, Shenzhen's tech pulse, and Beijing's cultural weight, has now enacted sweeping measures tightening the visa noose on Australian nationals. What began as bilateral frustration over trade disputes, technology access, and human rights has escalated into definitive immigration consequences. The policy at the heart of this pivot is known as the Selective Immigration Security Enhancement, SISE, rolled out in early 2025. This act fundamentally alters work permit criteria for Western applicants, placing Australians at a disadvantage. Australians now face enhanced background checks, restrictions on job categories, and limitations around long-term residency, particularly in sectors deemed strategically sensitive, like tech, engineering, and academia. Economic motivations are in play too. China's push toward self-reliance, especially in high-tech industries, means less appetite for foreign workers. Local universities and corporations have seen a marked push to hire domestic talent, reinforcing national pride and technological autonomy. Australian professionals in AI, renewable energy, or finance now routinely see their applications refused or stalled, with approval rates reportedly slashed by over 50%. Politically, Australia-China tensions, stemming from tariffs, security alliances, and public criticism, have fueled pointed policy shifts. The SISE explicitly records national security considerations as a valid reason for rejecting visas. For Australians, that means a glance at your passport could immediately trigger extra scrutiny. So if you were planning to head to Hong Kong or mainland China for a job or study opportunity, these changes demand immediate recalibration. The visa window is narrower, the stakes are higher, and the road is tougher than ever. What's your take? Is China's stricter stance a necessary act of national interest or an unfair crackdown on foreign talent? Let your voice be heard in the comments below. And get ready, the number one country is more shocking than you can imagine. Number 1, United Kingdom. And at number 1, the most unexpected entry on our list, the United Kingdom. In 2025, the UK, a long-standing ally and favourite relocation spot for Australians, has made a drastic turn by severely tightening immigration access for Aussie citizens. This move has sparked outrage, confusion, and a wave of last-minute visa applications. Why the sudden change? It all comes down to the UK's new Post-Brexit Migration Equilibrium Act, a sweeping policy designed to recalibrate global immigration post-EU. In the name of national security, labour control, and balanced foreign relations, the UK now categorises Australian applicants under a more restrictive general visa tier, eliminating many fast-track pathways that once existed under Commonwealth ties. What used to be a relatively smooth process, especially for Aussies with ancestry rights, youth mobility visas, or skilled trades, has now become layered with bureaucracy. New income thresholds, job sponsorship guarantees, and annual immigration caps have drastically lowered approval rates, with some categories reporting up to 60% rejections in early 2025. Compounding this shift are growing political rifts. Disagreements between the UK and Australia on defence alliances, climate policy, and trade equity have subtly influenced the tone of immigration conversations. Public sentiment in Britain, too, is shifting toward more localised hiring, especially in healthcare and trades, areas previously open to Australians. For those dreaming of living in London, working in Edinburgh, or retiring in the English countryside, this policy overhaul is a rude awakening. The UK may still welcome Aussies, but only after jumping through far more hoops than ever before. Is the UK turning its back on its mates from down under, or simply adapting to a new world order? Comment your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss these global updates. So, there you have it. 10 countries that have just banned or severely restricted Australian immigrants in 2025. From long-time allies like the UK and New Zealand to rising powerhouses like China and India, the global landscape is shifting fast. Whether driven by political tension, economic protection, or national sentiment, these changes are reshaping how and where Australians can live, work, and study abroad. What does this mean for you? If you're planning a move overseas, it's no longer just about booking a flight and packing a bag. Now, it's about navigating stricter rules, proving your value, and sometimes finding entirely new destinations that remain open and welcoming. But don't lose hope. While doors are closing in some places, others are opening wider than ever, and we'll be covering those in our next videos. So if this video gave you a fresh perspective, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Which of these bans surprised you most? Are you reconsidering your relocation plans? And remember, this isn't just news, it's about your future. Stick with us, and let's navigate this changing world together.